If you've never considered owning a medium-range Mondeo-sized car with a Kia badge on the bonnet, then you're not alone. But you probably reckoned without the brand's striking-looking Optima, a car that in much improved second-generation guise seems set to win new friends for the Korean maker in this segment.
If you're thinking of a large family car and you don't want an SUV, then you're probably not thinking about a Kia. Although the Korean maker is now well established in the market's various compact vehicle segments, it has yet to make any significant impact when it comes to larger Mondeo-sector models. Here, though, is a contender that could change all that: the much improved second-generation Optima. Kia launched the original version of this car back in 2012, but with just one engine option, a single saloon body style and a few standout qualities other than smart looks, its impact on the market was so slight that even now many potential buyers remain unaware that the company even makes a model in this class. That could quickly change though, if the brand properly promotes this rejuvenated Optima range. Why? Well, for a start, as well as this saloon, there's now the estate body style that many customers in this segment want. Plus the option of the kind of plug-in hybrid technology that an increasing number of think that they ought to have. When Kia launched this improved design at the beginning of 2016, we realised that the fundamental car itself was much better too. Longer, wider, taller and even more stylish. Plus, more importantly, far classier inside than its predecessor. There's extra safety and connectivity if you're prepared to pay for it, and the company reckons that the stiffer body will also make it more agile to drive, something that will especially benefit the high-performance petrol-powered sporting variant at the top of the range. More importantly, efficiency is now closer to the class standard, even if you satisfy yourself with a conventional diesel version. All of which is just as well, for products like Ford's Mondeo and Volkswagen's Passat have set the bar high in this segment, while contenders like Skoda's Superb, Peugeot's 508, the Mazda 6 and this model's Korean cousin, Hyundai's i40, all offer stiff competition too. Kia, though, says it's fine with that, confidently pointing to the fact that this Optima is one of Korea's best-selling cars, and reminding us that demand in the US is so great that the company has to build additional models stateside just to keep pace with it. All very well, but European buyers expect a lot more than their Asian or American counterparts. So, can this Optima deliver? Can it really make an impact on the domination the big brands enjoy in the medium-range segment of our demanding business market? And at the same time, as Kia suggests, offer thoughtful private family buyers a stylish choice that's deliciously different? Let's find out. It's one thing, of course, to make a car look sharp, another entirely to make it drive that way. The original Optima model certainly wasn't a car aimed at driving enthusiasts, but with this second-generation version, Kia is aiming to deliver more of an involving, Europeanised package in this segment. On paper, the prospects for this appear to be encouraging. For one thing, this Mark II model's body shell is 50% stiffer than its predecessor, yet 8.6 kilograms lighter, and that is always a good start. Plus, in an effort to cure the previous car's largely lifeless steering, this one gets a redesigned rack-mounted motor-driven power steering system. That's supposed to help create in this Optima one of the most agile cars in the class. Is it? Well, not really. This still isn't a car in which you'd seek out a challenging road, although the revamped but still very firm suspension does deliver decent body control, keeping cornering roll to a minimum. Because of that, though, you feel tarmac imperfections rather more keenly than perhaps you'd hope from a car with such a comfort-orientated remit. Things settle down at higher speeds though, and it's here that you especially appreciate the successful efforts that Kia has made in reducing engine noise and generally improving refinement. This is now one of the quietest cars in the class, something the high mileage executive target audience will particularly appreciate. We doubt that many of these people will much care that the steering still lacks meaningful feel when you're at speed through tight bends. It'll be enough that the leather-trimmed wheel feels good to hold and the car feels fluid and stable on fast, twisting roads. And that there's a bit more response from beneath the bonnet, where lies the 1.7-litre CRDI diesel engine that all mainstream Optima models must have. Although a carryover from the previous model, this unit now develops 139 brake horsepower, 5 brake horsepower more than before, and more importantly, develops a little more pulling power, a little lower in the rev range, which makes progress more relaxed. The 340 Nm torque figure now makes it possible to tow up to 1.8 tonnes, something likely to be of particular interest for many of the buyers likely to choose a Sportswagen estate body style that's now been added to the range. Performance figures depend on the transmission you choose, the choice being between a 6-speed manual stick shift or the probably preferable 7-speed 7 DC2 automatic that we're trying here. One of those clever dual clutch autos that selects the next gear before you've even left the last one. In the manual model, 62 miles an hour is 9.7 seconds away from rest en route to 121 miles an hour, while with this auto, you're looking at 10.6 seconds if you're quick with the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters and 126 miles per hour flat out. There are now green pump fueled options for Optima customers, but they are limited to the minority interest models at the top of the range. Our flagship Sporting GT model gets a 242 brake horsepower 2-litre TGDI petrol unit and a standard electronically controlled suspension system, but it'll be a very rare sight on our roads. More relevant is the Eco plug-in hybrid variant, an Optima able to combine a 2-litre GDI petrol engine with a 50 kilowatt electric motor paired to a 9.8 kilowatt hour lithium polymer battery pack. The powertrain's total output is 202 brake horsepower and there's useful 375 newton meters of torque, enough to take you to 62 miles per hour in 9.4 seconds. More importantly, if you keep the car topped up with charge, you could, according to Kia, enjoy up to 33 miles of pure electric driving, although that figure will diminish very rapidly if you drive this Optima at its electric top speed, around 75 miles an hour. A lot of this car's success to date has had much to do with the way that it's been styled. So once again, Kia has plenty to thank Chief Design Officer Peter Schreier and his team for. This second generation model looks very similar to its predecessor, although this time around is actually longer, wider and a little taller than that car was. The longer profile certainly gives it a little more road presence, and as before, the wedgy shape with its high hunched shoulders and its low glass house would suit a premium badge, which pretty much says it all. Up front, Kia's trademark tiger nose grille remains, but the longer and wider wraparound headlamps flanking it are subtly different, and on top models like this one feature bi-xenon lighting. More significant changes are found lower down, where vertical slits at each corner are connected via chromed strips to front fog lights, each made up of 3 jewel-like LEDs. The lamps sit encased in a high-gloss black lower grille that Kia hopes will give the car a more powerful and a more stable appearance. From the side, these raked A-pillars from the previous model remain, along with these deeply sculpted door panels that curve fluently into slightly extended side sills. From this angle, you better appreciate the way that the extra 10mm of body length has provided space for the slightly more swept back profile that I mentioned earlier. As before, there's a high waistline that flows all the way back from the front lamps and culminates in this distinctive C-pillar that would be large enough to leave a rear 3/4 blind spot were it not for this sharply kicked up rear quarter light. It's all enough to create a very sporting shape that's, well, refreshingly different from most of the boxier alternatives in this sector. That's the theme further continued here at the rear, where the rising spoiler-shaped boot lid and a wide rear bumper flow into a diffuser section that houses the chrome-tipped oval exhaust tailpipe. These slender tail lamp clusters are LED lit on most models and they wrap smoothly around the corners of the car. The key design changes, though, have taken place here at the wheel, where the improvements over the previous model are considerable. As is the current trend, there are fewer buttons, and the fascia is divided into upper and lower control zones. And these are separated by this horizontal chrome strip, which enhances the increased width of the cabin. Everything feels more driver focused and is. The centre console now angled at 8.5 degrees towards the person at the wheel. Key, as usual in this class of car, is the centre dash infotainment touchscreen. 7 inches in size on the entry-level model, or 8 inches if you get a variant like this one, fitted with the excellent Harman Kardon premium 10-speaker sound system. Either way, the display is set at exactly the same height as the instruments in the main cluster, so as to make it easier to absorb information. Quite a lot of information as it happens. On every model, this screen offers satellite navigation, a reversing camera, and a setup link to Kia connected services that features TomTom traffic and speed camera alerts, weather reports, and local search information. Bluetooth with music streaming and a reversing camera are also integrated. And on this top spec variant, you also get a neat 360-degree around view monitor. Plus, Kia has engined in Android Auto and Apple CarPlay connectivity so that you can easily integrate your smartphone into the display setup. Anything this touchscreen can't tell you will be covered off by the further TFT screen provided between the two main dials in the instrument binnacle. Provided you avoid entry-level trim, this will be a 4.3-inch colour display, able to deal with fuel consumption readouts, compass settings, safety system information, radio settings, and your Optima's service status. Getting comfortable is straightforward too. There's 20mm more shoulder room and 13mm more headroom than there was in the previous model. And the now more supportive seats ideally position you in front of a redesigned 3-spoke leather-trimmed multifunction steering wheel that feels really good to hold. Cabin quality is much improved with soft touch materials and quality switchgear everywhere you look. Solid, scratchy plastics banished to areas that you won't often touch, and added satin trim, piano black inserts, and either real or man-made leather on most variants. A nice touch on this top spec model is this wireless mobile phone charging mat. You simply place your handset in front of these aux-in USB and 12-volt ports in this lidded compartment at the base of the centre stack. As for practicalities, well, there is a decently sized air-conditioned glove box, bottle holders in the door pockets, an overhead sunglasses compartment, and 2 cup holders alongside the gear stick. And they're just in front of a deep storage box between the seats that comes complete with an integrated tray. We like the little touches too, like the clever auto defogging system for the solar windscreen and the Aeroblade wipers, which have been specifically designed not to squeak in the rain. There are just a few minor irritations that remain. The way that the infotainment screen reflects onto the top of the windscreen at night, and the musical farewell that you're given when you take the ignition key out. That's not the kind of thing that you could imagine ever receiving in a Passat. Time to take a seat in the rear. Now, taller passengers need to take care when getting in thanks to this curving rear roofline. But once inside, it's hard to complain about the space on offer. Thanks to a longer wheelbase than anything Kia has previously offered in this sector, this car is up with Ford's Mondeo and beginning to approach Skoda's Superb when it comes to rear seat room. Thanks to this second generation model's extra length, height, width and 10mm of extra wheelbase, the cabin back here offers 25mm more legroom and 10mm more headroom than before. And that is enough to make it one of the few in this class able to comfortably seat 3 adults over longer journeys. Somebody 6'4" can easily sit behind someone else of the same size, and as a result, more modestly proportioned folk, like me, will really feel as if they can spread out. Now, as usual on a car of this kind, there's a central armrest with built-in cup holders, plus access to 12-volt and USB sockets. In addition, passengers back here now have their own heating system, while on this flagship model, there are heated outer seats and pull-up window shades. Let's take a look out back. Now this top variant gets a smart key system, and there's the optional facility that allows you to open the boot lid with a wave of your foot beneath the bumper if, key in pocket, you approach the car laden down with bags. Now the lid rises to reveal a rather narrow opening aperture, but you get beyond that and you'll find that the additional body length has delivered 5 more litres of extra boot space than the previous model could provide. The total rising to 510 litres. Now that's more than you get in a Mazda 6, a Peugeot 508 or a Hyundai i40, but a fraction less than is offered by a Ford Mondeo or a Vauxhall Insignia, and a lot less than you get in a Volkswagen Passat or a Skoda Superb. Now bear in mind that if you go for the plug-in hybrid Optima variant, boot space drops considerably to 307 litres, which could make it even more irritating that Kia doesn't offer the ski hatch option for longer items, although you can push forward the 60/40 split folding rear seat backs if the temptation to load up with flat pack IKEA furniture just becomes too great. Of course, if carriage capacity is important to you, then this isn't the body style to be considering. Choose your Optima in the sports wagon estate guise that Kia thinks most likely owners will want, and you get a 533 litre boot. Kia feels confident about a little more bravery in its pricing structure these days. So the Optima primarily occupies the same kind of £22,000 to £30,000 territory as just about every other contender in the diesel sector of the medium range market. You'll need to find a touch more than that if you want the plug-in hybrid variant or the Performance GT version with its potent 2-litre TGDI petrol power plant. The vast majority of Optima buyers, though, will be spending in the £22,000 to £25,000 bracket and opting for the 1.7-litre CRDI diesel that we're trying here, tested in this guise with the 7-speed DCT auto gearbox that costs an extra £1,400 in mid-range trim and is standard on this top-of-the-range variant. Here, as you can see, we're trying the saloon version, but Kia expects a majority of buyers, over 80% of whom will be fleet customers, to want the sports wagon estate body style that's being offered at an extra premium of just over £1,000. On to the value proposition on offer here. Now, unlike most of the alternatives in this segment, Kia isn't offering buyers lower and higher powered diesel options with this car, or any volume petrol options either. Instead, the whole of the mainstream range is based around a single 1.7-litre CRDI diesel unit that's been slightly boosted in power this time around to firmly position it against 2-litre diesel rivals rather than 1.5 or 1.6-litre diesel competitors. Now, bear this in mind if you're making comparisons. Compare like with like, and you'll find this car positioned about £1,000 above equivalently powerful 2-litre diesel versions of the Vauxhall Insignia and Skoda Octavia. Go for a Hyundai i40 fitted with the same engine, and you'll save yourself a similar amount. Kia points out, though, that with any of these contenders, you'd have to spend more on equipment to bring them up to Optima levels, something which would easily negate any price saving. Plus, none of them can match the rear seat space or the warranty on offer here. Look in this segment beyond the cars I've just mentioned, and you will be paying more. Around £600 to £800 more if you want a comparable 2-litre diesel Ford Mondeo, Skoda Superb or Mazda 6. Around £1,500 more if you want a 2-litre diesel Toyota Avensis, and well over £2,000 more if you want a 2-litre diesel Volkswagen Passat or Peugeot 508. If you're considering this Optima in plug-in hybrid form, then the only direct alternative is Volkswagen's much pricier Passat GTE. You could, though, spend similar money on plug-in hybrids from other categories, say a smaller Audi A3 Sportback e-tron or a larger Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV crossover. Enough with value comparisons. Time to get to one of the things that could really sell you this car, the standard specification. Even a basic level 2 specification Optima comes complete with 17-inch alloy wheels, dual projection headlamps with static cornering lights and LED daytime running lights, UV reducing tinted solar glass, auto headlamps and wipers, heated power folding mirrors, front and rear parking sensors and an alarm. Inside, there's a 7-inch infotainment screen incorporating satellite navigation, a 6-speaker DAB stereo, Bluetooth phone compatibility and a reversing camera, plus dual automatic air conditioning, USB and aux-in ports, cruise control with a speed limiter, powered lumbar support for the driver's seat, an auto-dimming rear-view mirror, a leather-trimmed multifunction steering wheel, a trip computer and a clever automatic defogging system. There's also a temporary spare wheel rather than the silly puncture repair kit that some rivals offer. And this saloon version also features split folding rear backrest to extend your boot space. Most Optima buyers, though, are probably going to choose the mid-level 3 grade specification that you have to have if you want the option of automatic transmission. This variant includes, as standard, many of the niceties that you probably wouldn't be able to afford to add on to many rival models. It's distinguished by larger 18-inch alloy wheels, xenon headlamps, LED front fog lights and LED rear light clusters, while splashes of chrome feature on the door handles and the side sill mouldings. Inside at this level, you get a larger 8-inch infotainment screen with a 10-speaker Harman Kardon premium sound system. Plus, there's a larger 4.3-inch colour display for the instrument cluster and part faux leather trim for black cloth seats that are heated up front. Now, if your priorities lie with a sportier rather than merely a more luxurious look, then there's also the option of a GT line model that gives you the dynamic styling that's usually reserved for the flagship GT version. Here we've gone a stage further still in choosing this high-spec level 4 trimmed Optima variant that really does include the best of the equipment features that Kia now has to offer. There's a tilting, sliding panoramic glass roof. The bi-xenon headlamps have washers and bend with the road, and there's a smart keyless entry and start system that can also open the boot for you with a wave of your foot beneath the bumper if you're approaching the car laden down with shopping bags and you've got your key in your pocket. Inside there's full black leather upholstery with ventilated power adjustable front seats and heated outer rear seats, a neat wireless mobile phone charger, a 360-degree around view monitor and a smart park assist system to help you identify a space and then steer you into it. Other niceties at this level include rear window blinds, alloy pedals, a heated steering wheel, stainless steel door scuff plates, ambient interior lighting and adaptive smart cruise control that can automatically keep you a safe distance behind the car in front on the highway. With top 4-level trim, you also get a useful range of electronic safety aids, things like high beam assist to automatically dip your lights for you at night, a blind spot detection system that, when on the move, warns you if you're about to dangerously pull out in front of another vehicle, rear cross traffic alert to warn you if you're reversing out of a space into oncoming traffic, lane keep assist to warn dozy drivers if they're veering out of their lanes on the highway, and speed limit information, which pictures road signs as you pass them and displays them onto the dash. There's autonomous emergency braking too, one of those systems that scans the road ahead as you drive for accident hazards and will brake for you if you don't respond to warnings. In this Optima though, the setup's more sophisticated than it is with most rival models, using both short and long range radar systems so it can operate at higher cruising speeds as well as lower ones. There's also a specific pedestrian detection function that's operable at speeds of up to 37 miles an hour. It's a pity you can't have this proactive package of electronic safety features on the lesser models in the range, even as an option. Still, at least all Optima variants seem to be fundamentally very safe, certainly more so this time around thanks to this second generation model's much stiffer body shell. Larger front, side and curtain airbags are fitted to every variant, as is a tyre pressure warning system, and there are anti-whiplash front head restraints and the usual ISOFIX child seat fastenings. There's also a pedestrian-friendly bonnet with an inner frame to absorb energy should a head strike it. Now, to prevent such a worst-case scenario from ever happening, there are all the normal electronic driving aids in evidence. So the ABS braking is aided by a brake assist system in emergency stops that will be advertised to following motorists by automatically flashing brake lights. There's also the usual ESC, electronic stability control system, linked to Kia's VSM, vehicle stability management setup, which senses when the wheels on one side of the car are on a lower grip surface to those on the other side and adjusts the steering assistance accordingly. As Kia discovered first time around with this car, it doesn't matter how stylish or well equipped a car in the medium range Mondeo segment might be, if it can't offer cutting edge whole life running costs and low benefit in kind taxation figures, then it is going to struggle. Hence the need for a step up in this regard with this second generation Optima. Not an easy thing to achieve given that the 1.7 litre CRDI diesel engine used in nearly all the models is pretty much the same as it was before. Still, the engineers have done their best, aided by an idle stop-and-go ISG engine start-stop system, a more efficient motor-driven power steering setup, and an 8.6 kilogram reduction in weight this time around. As a result, useful improvements have been made. To be specific, this Mark II model will, in manual form, go around 10 miles further on every gallon and put out about 18 grams per kilometre less CO2. Go for a version like the one I'm driving with Kia's 7DCT automatic gearbox and you'll be able to travel 17 miles further on every gallon than the previous generation model could take you. I'll give you the figures. 67.3 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 110 grams per kilometre of CO2 for a manual Optima, while the auto version we're trying here manages 64.2 miles per gallon and 116 grams per kilometre. That's provided you operate the 7DCT box in its selectable eco mode. All of which, as you might expect, makes a big difference to those all-important whole life costs. In benefit-in-kind taxation terms, manual models fall by 3 taxation bands, while automatic variants fall by 8 tax bands. For private owners too, there are benefits. The standard rate of vehicle excise duty, road tax, falls by £90 a year with manual versions and by £150 a year with auto models. Users can monitor the success of their attempts at frugality via a useful fuel consumption meter that can be optionally selected as part of the instrument binnacle's central screen. If you're rating this Optima's fuel and CO2 figures against rival contenders in the medium-range Mondeo segment, then make sure you pitch this Kia against comparably performing 2-litre diesel models that this Korean brand is positioning this car against, rather than feebler 1.5 or 1.6-litre diesel alternatives. Do that, and you'll find this Optima now usefully more efficient than equivalent 2-litre diesel Vauxhall Insignia or Toyota Avensis models, and indeed its in-house stablemate, the identically engined Hyundai i40. You'll also discover that Kia has now got the efficiency figures of this car very close to those of key rivals like the 2-litre diesel variants of Ford's Mondeo and Skoda Superb, and the 2.2-litre diesel version of the Mazda 6. Comparable 2-litre diesel versions of rivals like Volkswagen's Passat and Peugeot's 508 remain cleaner and more frugal though. Or at least they do if your focus with this car is on diesel power, and it doesn't have to be. Kia has also developed an eco plug-in hybrid version of this car that combines a 2-litre GDI petrol engine with a 50 kilowatt electric motor paired to a 9.8 kilowatt hour lithium polymer battery pack. Keep that pack topped up from the mains and Kia reckon you should be able to travel for up to 33 miles in pure electric mode before the engine seamlessly cuts in to take over. Which means that if you were only able to use your eco plug-in Optima as part of an average daily commute, you might theoretically hardly ever have to put fuel in it. Or not much anyway. As usual with plug-in hybrid models, this one delivers a scarcely credible set of quoted running cost returns. 166.1 miles per gallon on the combined cycle and 37 grams per kilometre of CO2, provided your car's fitted with 17-inch wheels. And that's an almost identical set of figures that you get from this variant's only other directly comparable rival in this segment, the significantly pricier Volkswagen Passat GTE. Most Optima buyers, though, are going to want to stick with this diesel engine, a unit which requires servicing once a year or every 20,000 miles, whichever comes soonest. Either way, maintenance costs can be kept down by opting for Kia's Care 3 or Care 3 Plus servicing packages, which offer a fixed cost and inflation-proof servicing plan for the first 3 or 5 years, something which can also be passed on to subsequent owners. Insurance groupings in the diesel range start at Group 19 for a Level 2 spec model, rising to Group 20 for the Level 3 or 4 spec variants. It's also worth mentioning that roadside assistance cover is limited to 1 year, although you do get a long 12-year bodywork warranty. Talking of warranties, this car's trumpeted 7-year, 100,000 mile package is a class-leading one, although it's worth pointing out that when you read the small print, you discover that you only actually get 7 years of cover on the engine and gearbox. It's 100,000 miles and 5 years for everything else. Still, the overall package remains a great selling point to be able to offer customers on the second-hand market. And that's one reason why residual values of this car outsmart those of a rival Ford Mondeo. Ongoing residuals will depend on whether Kia's momentum as a desirable brand can be maintained. Personally, we think it would have helped this car's cause if it had been badged K5, as it is in Korea, rather than having used a moniker used to sell washing up liquid. Still, cars as good looking as this one can probably get away with being called almost anything. Kia has created a far more competitive proposition with this second generation Optima. It'll be interesting to see how the market responds to it. There's certainly been a focused sense of purpose here. There wasn't much wrong with either the styling or the mainstream diesel engine, so both are very little different from before. Instead, time and money have been exclusively spent on the things that this car really needed to make an impact in the segment: an estate body style, extra connectivity, and the option of plug-in hybrid technology. With all that duly delivered, it's time for the market to start taking this car seriously. Yes, the ride and handling could be better, as could the diesel efficiency, but all these things are close enough to the class standard to keep the interest of many buyers long enough for them to be tempted by the high specification, the spacious rear cabin, and the stylish looks. In summary, we think that this car has much to offer for those willing to look beyond the established contenders in the segment and give it a try. The extra cabin room will please families, and it'll certainly be a very smart set of wheels for the middle-ranking managers who sweep backwards and forwards across the country, from motorway services to shiny industrial estates and back home again. And as for those established brands, well, if they're smart, they'll be taking this car very seriously indeed, because potentially that's what an increasing number of thoughtful buyers might already be doing.